How's it going? It's Glaive here. Happy New Year. We're in a content drought right now, and based on what Amazon Games has told us, we're going to be in a content drought for quite some time. So with that in mind, let's think creatively about what we could do to get more content into the game. For example, what if I told you that there's PvE content in the game right now that isn't being used that could be made easily relevant? What if I told you it could be made endgame relevant? Well, it exists and it can, so let's talk about it. Now, there's a couple of points to this crazy idea to cover, but let's start first with the easy one, the content. Now, those smart cookies out there, and let's be honest, I mean you, have probably figured out that I'm talking about soul trials. In New World, we have soul trials, about 10 of them, give or take, and following the release of Season 5 in a few months' time, we'll have 2 10-man trials as well. In all, that's a lot of PvE content that just doesn't get used. In the case of soul trials, it's because currently they're locked behind quests. You do them once, and then they gather dust for the rest of time. In the case of our 10-mans, it's because they're just not relevant after a short period of time. The hatchery specifically has an outdated loot table of underpowered gear, and AGS themselves have stated that updating the loot tables to keep it relevant is a job that's just not top of the list right now. Now, I've got a suggestion for how to make this treasure trove of content loot relevant, which we'll get to shortly. But first, how can we use all of these trials to generate engaging PvE content in a game that's currently starved of new content? Simple. Throw them in a playlist. Add every soul trial in the game to a solo PvE playlist queuing system. Allow players to select which ones they want to enter and play, and even better, add in mutations for people looking for an extra challenge. If some nutter wants to run an M3 Daichi's Dojo for a fun challenge, then by all means, the game should let them. As for the 10-mans, simple. The content and the queue system are already there. They just need to remain relevant, which brings us onto the second part of this idea, and it's a biggie: tokens. Now, before you click away or fire off in the comments section, hear me out for a second. Yes, I recognise that farming tokens in-game is not as thrilling as having that one powerful item drop. Yes, token systems can get out of hand if not done properly, but a token system is also a virtually foolproof way to keep all of this content viable for progression for years down the line. Think about it. An update to the loot tables would make all of this content relevant again, sure, but only for a time. What happens the next time our gear score increases? Updating these tables takes work, and as we've already seen, AGS is spread thin as it is. All it would take is one more expansion for all of this valuable content to become obsolete again. But if these trials dropped tokens, let's call them Azoth tablets for now, that were saved up and used to buy the pieces you wanted from a vendor, then with every gear score increase, with every big meta shift, there's only one loot table that you need to update, the one at the vendor. This is a system already used in online gaming to great success. My personal experience with it is farming Allagan tombstones in Final Fantasy XIV back in the day, and it's a system players still use in that game at endgame to gear up each time there's a power increase. And here's a little sweetener. Let's make that vendor our faction rep. Aside from chromatic seals and Azoth inductors, there's very little use for faction NPCs right now, and this way they stay important and relevant well into the future. Easy win. So yeah, there you have it. Content takes a while to create. It takes resources, it takes talent, it takes imagination, but there's a lot of content there that isn't currently being used, and by following this model, or a model very similar to it, it could be brushed up, it could be polished, it could be made to be relevant again very, very easily. And what's more, once it's made relevant, it could actually stay relevant long into the distant future. So how about it? Yes, we want new content, create new content, but at the same time, look at what we already have that isn't being used. All of these fantastic assets, which were put together and frankly put to waste, could actually be made to be great again. That's everything we have. That's the video. If you found this at all entertaining or interesting, consider liking and subscribing. It will really help with the algorithm. What do you think to the idea? What else could we do, thinking creatively, during the content drought to see us through? I stream Monday, Wednesday and Friday evenings UK time on Twitch TV. Hopefully I see you there. If not, then until next time, take care.